Daniel Tschudy, you were very cynical of China's ability to play a major role on the meetings industry stage due to its cultural barriers. You've spent a lot of time there since. Do you still hold the same view?
My opinion has a bit changed because obviously since May last year I'm spending substantial time there, and in fact since January I moved to consult in Shanghai. The truth is, however, that certain substantial barriers, or as I called it last year, the Great Walls, they're still there. And so it is still the same thing. You can go to China, you find very friendly people, very open people, but then still there's a fundamental lack of knowledge, lack of expertise in many business sectors. And for example, in our industry, in the meetings industry, we find that most of the people in the industry actually come from tourism or from the hotel industry. So they still have to learn what meetings industry means, and that's a simple learning. It basically means to learn a new industry, and it means they have to learn English. So learning English is still a substantial handicap because you can chat easily, comfortably already, but when you come down to business, you have to translate everything into China because it simply does not work yet in English.
Do the Chinese understand a need or indeed recognize a value to face-to-face meetings?
I believe they have to be educated in that because obviously China doesn't have a culture of confrontation. It has still what I call a little bit, and I don't want to be disrespectful, I call it the imperial thinking, meaning that the emperor thinks and you don't think. Therefore, the meeting industry, however, is about exchanging. It's about the process. It's about the learning, 2 opinions, 3 opinions. It's about the brainstorming, and that is still difficult in China. In China, you cannot just go there and say, hey, we have a problem, let's talk about it, because you have to identify first who you speak with and in which environment you speak it. But you cannot just go bluntly and say, guys, tomorrow morning our budget is the subject, everybody comes with ideas and let's just spread our ideas and talk openly. That's not possible. So therefore the meetings industry, however, has the aim of doing business together. And in China, in the society, of course, it's still a top to bottom process of doing business. And until that rhythm is broken, I think it needs time, and it needs foreign, if I may call that, foreign learning processes. It needs learning institutes. It needs MPIs coming to Beijing and to Shanghai to teach what the essence of business is. And the essence of business is people doing business together rather than somebody says, how does it work? And then everybody else says, fine, I'm just doing it.
So the software is pretty much out of kilter with the spectacular investments that are being made in infrastructure.
Absolutely, and that's fantastic to be in China to see the hardware. I think there is a figure of over 60 new convention centers being built. There are, latest statistic, 133 cities with more than 1 million inhabitants. We have fantastic infrastructure, highways. The new Beijing airport is going to be splendid, and Shanghai, of course, is shiny. So the whole infrastructure comes, and that's funny because in the meetings industry around the world, usually it's upside down. You have a demand which is there and requires then the infrastructure to follow, and the infrastructure often cannot follow very fast because government involvement, because budgets, public opinion. But in China it's upside down. You create the fantastic infrastructure and then you can invite the people. The problem and the difficulty is that the soft service as well has to follow. Catering for foreign participants, hostesses that speak more than the learned sentence of welcoming and guiding you somewhere, taxi driver who actually in some cases are not even able to read their Chinese instruction from hotels. So there's a big work to be done.
Couldn't they almost replicate what's taken place here in the Gulf and bring in an expatriate community so that they can bridge the educational time frame?
I think there's a substantial difference to, for example, the Emirates, where you have like 50% nationals and 85% foreigners. In China, you have like 99.9% nationals and 0.01% foreigners. There is a certain openness. There is clearly a process to accept business schools, to accept associations. The Chinese tell you also very clearly, come into our country, teach us. But the teaching cannot go directly into the business operation. It has to go to the staff learning to do the business and then eventually become successful. So the hotel industry shows this clearly in China, that you have high-end top management people from around the world, but nothing in between. And you have masses of cheap labor, willing, but limited by learning, by education, by language abilities, etc.
Well, let's find out more at CIBTM in September.
Absolutely. I'll be there, and I welcome you to come to Beijing.
Daniel Tschudy, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Every day, we take a little inspiration into the air. Inspiration direct from the heart of modern Arabia. New heights of comfort, service, and luxury for all. And those little touches that make every flight special. But no matter where in the world we fly, nothing beats the feeling of coming home. Etihad Airways, from Abu Dhabi to the world.